One of the key things, and you're probably not going to be able to look at everything, I guess, maybe the writing's quite small. But we voted that as of November 1st, we would use Robert's Rules of Order, and we didn't actually use it as part of our November board meeting. So I have a cheat sheet up here for anybody who hasn't read the book. There's also a cheat sheet at the back of the book. I'll tell you what page it is now, if I can find it. No, I can't find it. Yeah, it's at the back of the book anyway. I had it open earlier on. Yeah, we've all read the book. Maybe not the entire thing. It's there for reference. But I guess the key thing is to try and follow the rules of order. So there are a few kind of to and from, you say, and stuff like that, which is what we were looking to change going forward, to maybe make the board meetings a little bit more professional and have order. Welcome everybody. Andrew, you've started recording, so welcome to the December 2020 video, Global Board of Directors meeting. I was just going to read that. Present from the board, I'll go by who I can see first. Sorry, just need to expand everything. Present from the board is Grand Ongers, Martin Knobloch, Sheriff Mansour, Gary Robinson, Vandana Verma, and sorry if I didn't. And I did say Grant, didn't I? And okay, myself on Pendlebury. I think the only one missing is Richard. Am I? Yep. Or maybe I'm just not seeing. Okay. So first line item for today is to approve the previous board meeting minutes. So I trust everybody's had a chance to review them. My motion to approve the November 2020 Global Board of Directors meeting minutes. Can I get a second?
I second.
I second it.
And just go in the same order that I can see everybody. Grant?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes.
Sharif?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Vandana?
Yes.
And I'm a yes.
Owen, I have something to say before we move ahead.
Yeah, sure.
In the last board meeting, for my previous board meeting, my attendance was missing. So Andrew said he's going to check and update. So just want to check if that's done.
Pretty sure it was. Let me just have a quick look. For the record, we don't currently have an attendance register that's updated, but we will make sure that this is actually dealt with.
I see you in October and November. Be listed.
Oh, okay, I fixed the minutes, but not this. Let me go back and make sure that everybody is fully accounted for. So I apologize, Vandana.
No problem. Thank you.
Yep.
Perfect. So moving on, Andrew and Tom, would you like to bring us through the KPIs and financials?
Yep, so KPIs this month, a healthy increase for most areas, both in number of members. That's nearly 12% annualized. There's quite a pleasing growth in member numbers. I think we'll probably try to make our stretch of 4,000 members by the end of next year through various membership drives. Our visitors bounced back during November, which is really good. I don't understand the reason why some months are very light on and other months are like what we would expect. But as you can see, there was a bit of a dip there around the August timeframe. We have made perfect SLA for funding tickets. We have 90% non-funding SLAs. This is primarily because of delays in responding to the community. We are trying to fix our processes so that essentially we close tickets where we don't get people in time. Unfortunately, this particular metric comes from an internal report of JIRA. And unless we're aggressive at closing tickets, which is sort of anti-community, I don't know that we'll ever get perfect SLA in this area. We can only try. I think the benchmark of 90% above is actually a good one to have. We're very light on for tickets at the moment. So, you know, the fact that it's 90% may only be 2 or 3 tickets. Okay. It is a little early this month for the close, so we don't have a year-to-date net income. Tom can give you any information you need for that area. Once we actually get the closed books for November, I will share them with the board as a financial package and update this particular set of minutes. And of course, present them in the January board meeting for next month. Tom was going to go through the draft budget, but what I might do is just simply do the executive director report and then pass it over to Tom. There is going to be a special executive meeting next Monday to go through the details, including salaries and compensation. Obviously, that's a HR issue, and so we'll be having a closed meeting for that. The draft budget is actually quite good. I'll let Tom talk about that. We're going to be making a very small profit. It is a very lean budget, and I would like a discussion on either today or on Monday as to how we allocate any residual funds, but there isn't a lot. We are making some post-balance finance reform already. Fundamentally, negative balances, Bill's about to join us. Negative balances are exactly the same under our current expense management system as having a $0 balance. Theoretically, you're not supposed to spend anything at that point. That's why we want to reform the finances. So we're going to reset those to 0. And we are currently determining a list of really long-term inactive chapters and projects, and we're going to zero those out as well. What this means is if for any reason those inactive chapters or projects becomes alive and submits a valid expense claim, I will pay it. They will not be disadvantaged from having their funds transferred back into general revenue. The reality is why I would need to do this is at the moment, for example, it says that we have $186,000 owing to projects. But the reality is because there are so many negative balances, the actual number is much higher. I need to know what that number is. And that's why we're doing this sort of activity.
Andrew,
also, yes.
Martin has a point of information.
Mm-hmm.
No, I have a question. They said long-term inactive chapters. If I'm not mistaken, Dawn had a big initiative on cleaning up inactive chapters last year. So how can it be?
So we have chapters who have not updated or had a meeting in over 24 months. These are the ones we're targeting. There's not many of them. Actually, the inactive projects are more interesting because, you know, for example, some projects have a default balance of $500 and they've done nothing since 2014. I would love for those projects to get going again. But at the end of the day, I don't think that'll affect that many chapters. I think it'll affect way more projects. Okay, but we're still talking probably less than 20 chapters in total, probably less than 30 projects in total.
Yeah.
Okay, we are continuing to work on a policy to procedure initiative so that we've had so many policy changes recently that we need to make sure that our policies are reflected with the procedures we do. We want to document our procedures and then make sure that we manage to those policies and procedures in the new year. It is highlighting some deficiencies and differences between updated policies and other policies that mention the same thing. And so there might be another round of just minor cleanups to address some of those issues. In addition, through the recent issues, we will need to do some bylaw updates in relation to the way that directors can be removed. The reality is that the current bylaw is not legal, and we would either have to remove it, which is possible, or alternatively obtain some legal advice on how to actually do it properly, which according to the lawyers is essentially the members doing a recall against a director. I would like your opinion on which way you would like to go. Just simply remove the actual bylaw on director removal, which then means you rely upon revocation of membership, or alternatively, do you want to go down the recall pathway? If we go down that pathway, there will be a legal fee involved.
Okay, I think we might need to take some time to think about it. And
okay, I'll put something together as a discussion paper for you guys to think about. It's obviously not a vote this month, and I don't want to bring a vote unless we're actually approving a bylaw. So I'll make it a discussion, and we'll have the discussion in the open and the board list.
Yes, and I would prefer then move that to next year, because then we have 2 more board members.
Okay, that's a good idea. Lastly, Emily. Emily has decided to move on. She's actually at this meeting, and I wish to thank her for her service and all the great events she's put on over at the time. I really wish she wasn't moving on, but you know, she's moving on to a really great position. So all the best for the future. I'm definitely going to miss her. So I will probably do something in the early new year in relation to events. I'm not too sure what that will be at this very moment. I need to have discussions with Kelly and Alana. But the main part right now is to make sure we've got a good handover from Emily. Other than that, are there any questions for me?
So is somebody internally going to take over from Emily, or are we hiring for that?
I haven't made that decision just yet. At the end of the day, basically, I want to make sure that we've got a good handover from Emily. I think we'll make a decision in the early part of the new year. Alana is pretty capable, and Kelly's been with us forever. So I think we've got a really good talent pool. I'd rather not rehire at this point, just simply in light of our existing budget. I think at the end of the day, and also considering that we're not putting on 2 physical events next year, we can probably postpone any decisions about rehiring until closer to 22. So I honestly think probably just a bit of a reorg might be necessary, okay? I don't know, I haven't made any decisions about that just yet.
Yeah, well, that makes sense, especially with given COVID, and it's more favorable actually reducing costs than increasing them.
Yeah,
at this
we
point.
can always ramp back up later. Okay, so I mean, at the end of the day, we've got virtual events for the vast majority of next year. AppSec Australia is going to be basically run by the Australian events team. So I would be hesitant to do a hire at this point.
You have our support if you feel that you need to. Just, I guess, if you could just bring it to us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think generally we said that staff is operational, so for the ED. The thing is, I think we have never made a decision, I'm not sure, that to be capped by headcount or total expense. So that's something I think we should define. But
I think it's staff count in the past, Martin, has been budgeted within the year's budget, and we've never actually inputted into the hiring process. Once it's budgeted, previous executive directors such as Mike would have just went out to hire.
Yeah, I know. I think it's something for Andrew to reconsider and for the board too.
I think realistically, I've got some thoughts on the matter. I think because adding a headcount exceeds my monthly discretionary amounts, I really do think it'd be worthwhile for executive directors in the future to pass the addition of a headcount to the board for a decision and justify the position. I mean, particularly in this time, I wouldn't be hiring without talking to you guys first. in a normal year where we're making reasonable money, it's probably less important, but I still think it's worthwhile. I'll tell you, my vision for OWASP is that we should never be a really large organization. I think we should be trying to spend as much of our money as possible on mission and making sure that our processes and our what we actually assist the community with is fundamentally not to be controlling of the community, but actually assisting the community. And that is a different type of role than having a large staff to do everything on behalf of the community. That's my philosophy. If the board has a different philosophy, let's talk about it in the strategy meeting in January. I think that's a valid place for us to have that discussion. But I do think that having a very large OWASP with a large staff overhead might end up detracting from our mission. And I would appreciate the board's guidance on this in the January session.
Thanks, Andrew.
Good one. I totally agree.
Okay. Last point, we're closing the office between the 24th and we'll be coming back on the 4th. You can contact me over the Christmas break. I'll be here. I'm not going anywhere. I do realize the board's business is probably going to be closing out today, but I do want to make sure that you know that I'm available, but our staff will be having holidays to recharge their batteries in preparation for 2021.
I think people wish that it would skip a year to go to 2022, so all this will be over.
Yes, very much so.
Exactly.
Tom?
Just stay in bed.
Yeah. Go to sleep and hope you wake up. It's 2022. Thank you, Andrew. Nice to see everybody. So a couple of things. October, which Andrew has listed here. Kelly, thank you very much for that information. It's exactly what I needed. In October, we had shown a year-to-date positive $200,000 net income. We're going to reduce it by 40 and put that back into deferred because there's 4 sponsors that have chosen to have it recognized next year. So we're still looking very good through October. The team's working on the bank recs. Usually this is the week that we close the books. So, as soon as that's done, we'll get it out to everybody. The next thing I wanted to do was briefly go through the budget. As Andrew mentioned, we're going to have a closed session because there's confidential information, but I've summarized it. So I'm going to take over the screen for a minute and show you all what we're looking at. Okay. All right, let me know when you can see it all.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So the revenue for all of the events is exactly what Emily had in her presentation last month. The revenue really hasn't changed. We updated membership a little bit and we're conservative, with fundraising donations and working on the trademark licensing. So we're showing right now a total income of just over 2 million. Typically we're in the 3.5 to 4. So that'll give you some idea of where we're thinking 2021 is going to be. At least the first 6 months. Everything I've seen, read, heard, working with other clients, the first 6 months of 2021 are looking like the back 6 months of 2020. For expenses, we've got the expenses in that, that Emily had. We've got what the board approved for setting up the Australian entity. These are all the expenses that were part of the presentation. What Andrew and I wanted to show you is we have broken up the P&L now to be more program related. So this is the summary of the expenses that are in projects, outreach, chapters, D&I, education, and then G&A. So as Andrew mentioned, right now we're basically showing a break even for next year. Now, there's some things in there like we just talked about with events. Okay, that'll obviously have an effect because we haven't changed this from where it was a week ago. And Andrew and I and Vandana have met a few times to review this. The other thing I want to mention is if you take the G&A as a portion of the total expenses, it comes into just under 21%, which is pretty good considering an organization of our size. And I do agree with Andrew. You know, I work with 70 plus organizations, and, you know, to increase the head count and the overhead and the administration, not sure that would serve our mission the way we want it to. The last thing I'll mention is, you know, I think Andrew's got some good plans as far as where the events are for next year and the fact that they're going to be online and not in person. But I'll mention the same thing I mentioned to he and Vandana. Don't forget, there's always a fractional alternative that if there's logistics help or a set of hands, and this is where I'll step out of my CFO role and just mention to everybody that, you know, virtual has a 12 or 13 person events department. So if in a pinch, you know, we needed assistance, you know, I'm sure there's something we could do as opposed to, you know, hiring a full-time headcount in the, you know, in the foreseeable future. So, you know, with that, I'll take any questions.
Excellent. Does anybody have any questions in relation to?
No, not at this moment. I think during the executive call, I think.
Yeah,
we can
and I'll
cover
break,
most of it.
right, to Sharif, I'll break this all out so you guys can all see the line items, and I'm sure there'll be more questions. To me, this was the number we really wanted to get to, which was to be conservative and, you know, hit everything we're looking for, but basically to show a break even for this upcoming year, especially with all the uncertainty.
So, sorry, Sharif, just very briefly. The reason why I broke it up this way is so that we can make sure that we don't become heavily reliant again on event income. I want every single part of our mission to have the opportunity of earning income, but also have more visibility into how the expenses are going so that we have some balance. For example, the education and training is going to be an investment, whereas we might be able to do some programs in the future that become wildly profitable, such as a certification or a training program. So we haven't budgeted for that next year, but we do think that by investing in and being explicitly investing in certain areas that will end up having future revenue, we will set ourselves a really good place to be in a few years' time when we don't have the overly high reliance upon event income. Event income is great, but everything that has, as Mike said, a recurring expense should have recurring income. And I want to make sure that as many of the program areas as possible have ways of earning that income. Sorry, Sharif, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I wanted to make sure that our revenue also forecast is conservative, especially with the line item for San Francisco virtual.
Yeah, so that hasn't been voted upon yet. So it's speculative at this point, but we're going to be doing something. We just don't know what it looks like right now. And with Emily's departure, we probably do need to make some decisions shortly. The things that we are moving on is the 20-something virtual events that were approved by the board, including training. But we will need to make a decision around this. If we do end up removing this as a line item, we don't end up hosting such a large event again. We would need to probably space out even more virtual events throughout the year. And with Emily's departure, that's going to be rather tricky. So we'll have a discussion about that, I think, maybe in the January. Well, we can have a discussion at the budget meeting on Monday, but we can also have a strategy meeting discussion about events for 21.
That's fine. It's just that the point is that this question mark is a 35% of our revenue question mark. So that's the variance that we have to take into account.
Yep, I agree.
Andrew, can you share this document with us? Okay.
The budget? Yeah, we'll share the real thing with you on Monday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Tom might even be able to share that privately with you today, if that's okay, Tom.
Yeah, I don't have a problem sharing it with the board if you guys want to take a look at it.
Yeah, it'd be good for
You
prep.
reading
Please do.
in advance, yeah.
Yes, please.
Now, in terms of changes to the agenda, I wasn't sure if anyone could turn up from the committees, but some folks have. So I'd like to
Sorry,
propose.
Andrew,
Yes.
am I just allowed to add a question or comment on the budget outline?
Owen?
Yeah, sure. Go on,
Okay. It's really just around the Australia event. Daniel and I have had a couple of conversations already about the event, and I guess we're concerned that a 55,000 US net profit in a travel bubble, physical separation kind of world might be overly optimistic. So,
would it be possible to maybe make some projections on, say, numbers? So obviously there's some potential fixed costs in relation to the venue and stuff like that, but from a food and beverages perspective, that'll obviously come down if there's different numbers or a different amount of numbers. So maybe if we can make projections on the different amount of numbers that we could expect.
right.
And like, I guess it's more of a, like, we don't know. John is the honest answer.
Yeah.
We don't know how things are going to go. Projections are always projections. In some cases we overshoot and hope for the best. In some cases we underestimate as well. So I guess we're hoping by the time that takes place, things might have gone back to some normality, given the fact that there has been vaccines and so on put out. So hopefully there will be something, and maybe the projections are maybe increased and so on. But like we're here to work with you and Daniel on the ground as well with this. So we're not trying to. I guess we're not trying to say this is what we need. It's more that they're just projections. Like if it's not that, then it's not the end of the world. We know that the Australia days have been definitely successful over the last number of years. So hopefully it can be again in relation to post-COVID.
Yeah, the key here is to make sure that we have a conservative forecast for both the expenses and the revenue, to make sure that these are goals that we can feel that we can hit. And just so that we don't overshoot things by the mark. That's one of my concerns with the San Francisco one, because that's roughly 35% of the budget. If that's not forecasted correctly, that there's a $700,000 hole that needs to be addressed correctly, and that's one of my concerns. But that's why we just have to have a decent forecast for us to be able to address.
And Andrew, correct me if I'm wrong. Is San Francisco still potentially up for a vote?
It is.
Okay, I can't
So
remember
essentially,
whether we voted already.
So the vote today is to actually allow Emily to move forward with the push to 22. We've got $0 ability to move the events into 2022. I would deal with that at the time. The change to the agenda that I was talking about is charters to approve. We actually do have at least the Education Committee here today. And I'd like to add, move it from comments, announcements, and other business to new business, if that's okay.
I'll second that.
Yeah, perfect. Which do you want to go on to first? San Francisco, probably worth it, seeing as we were just talking about it, or?
Yep, let's do San Francisco first.
Okay, so it's actually it's changed. Myself, Sharif, and Andrew had a call the other day, and we were working through the new business. Some of it was really operational, so we removed it, and this was actually the first one that was in it. So we were talking about moving it to an e-vote, but as it ended up being the only vote left, we moved it back into this board meeting as part of it. So the motion is to move Dublin to June 2022 and San Francisco to late August, early September 2022. So after lengthy discussions, we have been able to get a $0 change to move Dublin to June 2022 and San Francisco to late August, early September 2022. This would help ensure that we don't need, or we don't have to enlarge cancellation expense while ensuring that we can advertise and obtain sponsors with some certainty for 2022. So the actual motion is resolved that the Foundation is directed to accept the offers to move Dublin to June 2022 and San Francisco to Q3 2022 under the revision that there is no change fee or any associated costs due in 2021. So I've sponsored it and Sharif has seconded it. Can I open it up to discussion, if any?
Well, that's a good point. If any, there's really no brainer here. Why is this a board motion? Why is it not just being done?
Because you previously voted on the other ones. I think honestly we do need to probably get to a place where we can say what is operational and what is not operational, because as I think Martin said in the past, everything is strategic until it's operational.
Yeah.
And
Should Andrew Simon his left hand or his right hand? Okay, another motion.
Like the other motions, there was probably about 6 or 7 motions, and we, Bob, the three of us basically decided that all bar this one were really solely operational. So Andrew was in a position to make the decision himself. This requires a board change because it does impact the budget, and we have voted on these events in the past.
And we had a strategic vote in the past about the number of face-to-face meetings, remember? Therefore,
the number of conferences actually, which we agreed to have 3 or 4 in a year, the global conferences. So this is changing to, or amending that.
And of course, support of the board for Andrew. Yeah, cool.
Is there any discussion required here? I think we're.
If nobody wants to
ready
discuss
vote on it.
Well, it's part of any board motion. As any board motion, it would be open to discussion, and then we go for a vote. I mean, if it's a Captain Obvious situation and a no-brainer, then obviously we go through the vote, but it's just part of the process.
Yeah.
So
But you know that you only know that's a no-brainer. Yeah, you only know that's a no-brainer when you had a discussion.
Perfect. So in the order that I can see everybody, so Grant.
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Sharif.
Yes.
Gary.
Yes.
And Vandana. You're on mute, I think, or just didn't. I see you nodding,
Yes.
but not. Perfect.
Yes. Oh, can you hear me?
Yep. Yeah, we can now. Thank you. And I'm a yes.
So the vote, us with a no
motion
there,
passes. Sorry?
You could have surprised us with a no there, Owen.
Well,
This is so obvious. Yes, no.
Yeah. I don't know. There's going to be, well, yeah. As much as it's like, in fairness, we thought Dublin was going to be this year. So it would have been nice to address the Irish community as chairman of the Global Board of Directors. But I'll be just as happy for the event to be pushed, or to actually take place, to be honest.
I'm also thinking that Dublin in June is probably going to be a better choice than Dublin in February. So
yes.
Yeah, February is normally our cold time. So yeah. The only thing is, as long as we're not impacting with colleges and exams and stuff like that, so that we don't get impacted there. But that's
wait a minute, there's a warm time? Okay.
No, there's a less cold time, Sharif.
Ah, yes.
It's not the same as warm.
Slight distinction, yes.
Says the people who live in London.
The people who come from Egypt and are currently in
Yeah,
Egypt.
but you still, yeah.
Yeah, but
you
you live in London. There's not a massive latitude
there's no
difference.
doubt. No.
Yeah, but I'm not arguing about the weather in the UK at all. You will not find a champion there from me, ever.
He's the one in the jumper, actually. So, and I know Martin is too, but.
By the way, last time in London conference, it was actually quite hot. Remember?
It was actually. Yeah, that was in June or July, wasn't
thanks
it? So.
to the AC more than anything else.
And the
Apologies
weather.
about that, by the way.
It was warm outside, actually. Yeah. It was warm outside. Perfect. So moving on, just conscious of time, and we want to get through this. I know we don't have too much more to get through, but I would assume that there'd be this discussion as part of this. So the charters to approve. So it's the education charter. So.
And I do appreciate the Education Committee coming here at such short notice. I do appreciate that very much, because I only gave them 50 minutes notice.
I'm just going to stop sharing my screen for a second, just
so you can log in. I'm happy
to see what Google's getting out of it. Perfect. I can second it.
John, your hand is still raised, or is raised again. Do you wish to address the board? Oh.
My apologies.
Just checking, because this is why you're here.
Sorry, and I don't see any of those hand raising while I'm sharing my screen. So if somebody can let me know if there is.
Oh, yeah, fair point. Yeah, it is one of the nice features of Zoom that if you have multiple displays, you can put different windows elsewhere when you're sharing. But if you don't have multiple displays, it's difficult.
Oh, I do, but it's I have a 34-inch monitor in front of me, and then all the chat and all that kind of stuff is over on the actual laptop over to my right. So I'm looking straight ahead and looking at this stuff. So
gotcha.
it's just it's very messy.
Was your focus? It's what I had to. You cannot pay attention to talk, to moderate, and the comments and the hand raising.
So
you're human.
Cool. Grant, as you're the one that's sponsoring it, would you like to take the board through it?
So
does that make sense, or would you like to pass it over to?
So I can. I mean, the committee was established earlier this year. This is an updating of their charter to bring them more in line with the changes to charters for committees, as per the changes that Andrew is trying to introduce as the executive director. They have been meeting regularly and have now got a regularly scheduled meeting in the calendar. And they actually at the last meeting hammered out this final version of the charter, which essentially wants to take on the role of establishing what education looks like from an OWASP perspective. So they're asking the board to provide them with what they need in order to achieve that.
Yeah, and to be honest, it looks good to me. So I'm happy to we both you sponsored and I seconded. So if there's any discussion on this, otherwise we can go to a vote. If anybody wants to.
Two members from the committee are here to answer any questions, should there be any.
So usually what Andrew does is highlight the changed text. What in spirit has changed as part of the alignment to the new committee charter?
Primarily, the fact that the offices are elucidated and that the scope has been possibly expanded ever so slightly, but I would have to actually defer to Andrew or John to find that out.
Okay.
Okay, I guess I can jump in
Is
next.
there an easy way to do a quick diff? Or John, feel free to go ahead.
So yeah, just around the scope, a lot of this had been taken directly from the committee proposal. One of the key ones that we actually spent a lot of time on was the second and third to last bullet around basically ensuring that we have assessment and that we establish benchmarks for our initiatives and our reporting on those. So it's trying to make sure that we have that measurement and accountability and transparency around our efforts. And I guess primarily, I know it's me. One of my pet things right now, of course, is racy matrices. And looking at this and the role of the committee is that the committee seeks to be the focus of accountability around education and training initiatives, but not necessarily the center of responsibility for executing individual initiatives. Excuse me. So we have a number of other committees and projects that have interest in things that are education and training related. And in fact, we've talked about even proposing a new project around education. So just on trying to clarify that the committee has that overarching accountability for making sure these programs and initiatives are moving forward, and then coordinating with the groups that are doing different things to monitor their progress, give them support, assist with coordination, and so on. But not to jump in and take anything over when that can be avoided. Is that a fair statement, Andrew?
Yes. Oh, sorry, the other Andrew. Sorry, please go ahead, the other Andrew.
I also concur, yeah.
Yeah, and Andrew Vanderstock, as part of that, I'd imagine coordinating and adjusting the staff processes to make sure that everything end to end goes in seamlessly, right? If there's a new OWASP educational process, then Harold and everyone else, have factored into this chapter, the charter and its scope and basically of line of delineation so that end to end, nothing, the ball doesn't drop. This is a separate thing to this charter. The charter looks great. I think this is just the next step just to make sure that if, a educational project needs funding, if a new project is being built and then feedback from the committee back and forth between the various bodies of OWASP is factored in as part of, you're looking at the revised processes, just to make sure that the committee is given the help that they need and overall the health of any educational project going forward.
I think that's baked into the foundation liaison section there, Sharif.
Yeah, it's just the devil's in the details, right? We just want to make sure, as Andrew mentioned before, there are policies that we have in processes don't necessarily match the policies. There's an effort to just make sure if you look at user journeys, like a persona, I want to start a new educational project, or I want to fund an educational project or so on, that the end-to-end steps to basically get there for a product word, the happy path, and the user journey is actually factored into account and the process factors it. So no one has a misunderstanding of who does what. That's all.
To that end, Sharif, it's probably, this is something that I should have pushed a little harder for, but the Education Committee has got a process flow for how that is supposed to work. That was presented at the very first kickoff after the board approved the foundation of the committee. So I will ask that they make the time to present that to the board at some point. I happen to be there because I attended one of the meetings. But yes,
Okay.
I understand what you're saying, and it is something that's been thought through.
Okay, excellent.
Okay. If there's no other comments, I can open it up to a vote if everybody's happy.
Yes.
Yep. Okay. Perfect. Yep. So in order that I see everybody, so Grant.
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Martin.
Sharif.
Yes.
Gary.
Yes.
Vandana.
Yes.
And I'm a yes. So the motion passes.
Yeah, I appreciate the effort. Very short notice. I will be endeavouring to bring you the other committees' charters with more time for you to review the charters as they come. And Sharif, I do hear you'd like to see a diff. I'll do that where I can.
And just to say thank you to John and Andrew for attending. Really appreciate you taking the time and to form this committee and to be part of it.
Thank you all.
All right, so thanks, John. So moving on, Andrew, is there the staff reports? Is there additional information that you would like to go through there? Otherwise, we've reached the end. Actually, after the Christmas social event, I missed that.
I just want to check whether or not is Kelly online. Yes, Kelly. Kelly didn't. She had a family illness and was unable to provide me a detailed response. If there's any questions in relation to sponsorship, please, Kelly. Just wanted to give a very brief overview of what's been happening.
Yeah, real fast, guys. I do apologize. I had some family emergencies this week. The sponsorships for 2021 are ready. I've shared them with the events team and they are working to get that up on the website with the dates and everything. So that's ready to go. I'm ready to start selling those just as soon as I got some more information on the website that I can point companies to. Regarding corporate membership, there has been a lot of interest from companies in developing regions as well as startup companies. We've had a couple companies, I want to say 3 so far, sign up in the developing regions, and I've split those payments into 4 quarterly payments because that's what they asked for, and they really do appreciate that, helping with their budgets. So while it's a little bit more, it'll make the AR report look a little bit longer. It's just because there's 4 separate invoices for 1 corporate membership. I feel like we have a good handle right now. I don't know if Tom's still on the call on the AR report. There are a couple that are outstanding, but I'm not too worried about it because we're on top of them. And we do know that there are some issues with just a few of them with sending payments to a wrong bank account. So we're on top of those with the virtual team. That's about all I have for right now. I will put together some numbers and get it to you, share it with the board and with Andrew. But like I said, it's been a little crazy week. So, or last week, yeah. So I apologize.
Kelly, this is Tom. I am still on. I do want to commend you guys. This is the cleanest that the AR list has looked in the 7 years I've been working with you all. So you guys have done a great job.
Yeah. And you'll see, Tom, I'm sure you've noticed too, like there may be 4 lines for one company, but it's just because the corporate membership is 4 different invoices. So, but yeah, so no, we're doing good. We're keeping a hold on them and keeping it under control.
Good luck with your issue.
Thank you.
Okay, I will just point out that Dawn has been giving the onboarding for newly elected board members. There is a book that I've asked you to read for the strategy meeting in January. It's called Engine of Impact, Essentials of Strategic Leadership. If you do not have a copy yet, please reach out to Dawn or myself, or just buy it and expense it. It'll get refunded. I wish us to have a strategy meeting rather than an operational meeting in January. The other one is essentially just really quickly. Sharif has asked me to highlight that for those who are coming back, we do have board source training available to you, which replaces the reading of the book. I would prefer it if you did the training rather than reading the book. But at the end of the day, you've already said that you've done the reading for this year, so I can't force you, but I would really encourage you to go to board source if you haven't already and go through the training. Harold, do you have an update, or is it not much happened?
I really don't have anything that you can't find on the project status page. Maybe one thing would be that I think everybody knows that Secure Flag is now has been launched. We probably still need to market that better, but that's pretty much it. Oh, and automation continues to be pushed toward. It's just slow going right now.
Okay, for the next board meeting, can we have an update on sort of the automation projects, where they are, what help if you need any, and what are the ETAs or what the roadmap is for any updates with regards to benefits for members and so on, like online training would be good to promote it better. Yeah, and if you, for next time, if you can add a link, if it's everything is in the projects page, then on the board meeting, it would be good to add the link there.
Yep.
Sorry, Sharif, the marketing thing is on me. I have an action item from the last meeting I had, which I will get to probably tonight.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you, Grant.
Okay, about the only other thing is that Vandana has been doing a tremendous job in providing me content for the blog. I'll be promoting that. She's given me about 8 or 9 things to publish so far, and I really do appreciate that. If any of the other board members wish to publish things in the blog, please have a look at what Vanda's been doing. Obviously, everyone has their own interests, but I'd love to have more content on our blog that we can promote.
Yeah, I've seen some of it. It's very good. Thank you, Vanda. I have to give my apologies because I have to jump off to go to a call about an incident within work. If there's no other business, we can adjourn the meeting. I think we've covered off everything on the page. If I can get a second for adjournment, otherwise I will pass everything over to Sharif.
A second.
I'll second it.
Okay.
Fourth.
Yeah. 5, 6. Yeah, I'll be this. Yeah, I don't know. Perfect. So I wish everybody a happy Christmas, and hopefully the new year brings everybody better luck than this year.
And good weather.
if that's the nicest way of saying it, I don't know. Perfect.
Everybody's listening.
And sorry, just just as Richard isn't here, but Gary, thank you for all your efforts on the board. I know this is your last board meeting.
Both of them.
Really, both
efforts.
All right.
Thing 1 and thing 2.
Yeah, but we really appreciate it, and it was really good having you on the board. And
no worries. Good luck for next year.
Cheers.
Thank you.
All the
Thanks,
best,
Gary.
Gary.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
Bye,
Thank you.
everybody.
Take care.
Thanks,
Stay
everyone.
healthy.
Yep. Happy holidays. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
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 Bye.